Welcome back in the kitchen, guys. In today's episode, we're going to be dealing with a ton of apples. We also have some pears, but that's for another day. We have 3 different types of apples. The variety names are actually not that important, but they're basically eating apples. So it's not ideal because you do have cooking apples, but we don't have those here. But we're going to cook them down anyway, because this specific tree actually has a little worm inside of the fruit. So we're going to use the fruit, or at least parts of the fruit, and make it shelf stable. So really great for family cooking, healthy, nutritious, delicious. Let's go. So first up, let's make this applesauce. So I have this large bowl here of these beautifully sliced wedges, and we're gonna move this into a large deep pot right now and then put it on a slow simmer with a tiny bit of water at the bottom, not too much, and then we'll make this into something delicious. Fill your pot with 4.5 kilograms or 10 pounds of apple wedges and add enough water at the bottom for the pot not to burn. Turn on the heat to medium and simmer while stirring occasionally. Then turn the heat down to low and simmer for enough time to cook the apples all the way through. This took about 45 minutes in my case. Be careful because this is sort of lava-like. So when you let this burn a little at the bottom, then you start stirring, it's gonna start exploding in your face. So I have a very long mixing stick, and I often check the bottom. Once the apples are all the way cooked down, you can now start the blending process. I always blend in batches to guarantee the peel breaks down nicely and you end up with a smooth applesauce. Chunky applesauce is great, of course, but I prefer it when the apples are peeled then. This recipe contains all that goodness that is in an organic apple peel, and so we are blending it in batches. Once all your batches are done, you reintroduce it into a clean pan, and you can now juice 2 lemons to lower the pH to make sure that the applesauce is safe and shelf stable. For safe water bathing, you need an acidity of 4.4 or below, so reintroduce the applesauce to the fire, add 1.5 cups of sugar and the lemon juice and bring it back to a simmer while stirring. Then when the apple is nice and hot again, you can start bottling it in sterile jars. Fill them with about 2 fingers of headspace in each jar and then screw on the sterile lids. The jars are then ready to be water bathed for another 30 minutes. Make sure they're fully submerged in the water, and when you take them out, screw the lids a little tighter and let them cool down on your kitchen counter overnight. Once cool, transfer them to your pantry and they will keep there for up to a year. Next up is our 2-ingredient zero-waste fruit leather that's naturally sweet, kid-approved and perfect for lunchboxes. You only need apples and a splash of water, no sugar, no additives. This recipe is so super simple you won't believe it. First you core your apples, leave the skin on for more nutrients, and then you place your apple chunks into a deep saucepan and add a little bottom of water. Cook them down until they are all the way cooked through. The apple we are using is quite tart and not that juicy, so they need a little more water to cook down than, for instance, let's say Renetta. Stir well and make sure not to burn the bottom of the pan. Once the apples are all the way cooked down, you now get to the tedious bit, which is to blend it in a high-speed blender in small batches to get it really nice and smooth. Bit of water to help this smooth down. I add a little bit of water to each batch just to make sure you can blend the pulp well. I apparently find this a very difficult task. This is easily spotted by my multitude of strange facial expressions I make whilst blending. Seeing my face like this made me think, oof, I really gotta work on those expressions when other people are in the room. Gotta be careful, the stuff is hot. Little taste in between. Lekker. Once all the pulp is smooth, you can then spread it out on dehydrator trays on top of some baking paper. Smooth it out in quite a thick but even layer until all the pulp is used. And then they go into the dehydrator. We're gonna see how long this takes. I'm gonna put it on 60 degrees Celsius, which is how many Fahrenheit? I'm gonna have to look it up. Then place it into a dehydrator and let it dehydrate at 60 degrees Celsius or 140 degrees Fahrenheit until you get a leathery consistency. I let it dehydrate a little too long, which was 18 hours in total. I think 14 hours would have been enough. They do need to be dry enough for them not to spoil, so it's better to go too dry than too wet. The next morning I took them out and peeled them away from the baking paper. Then I rolled them up and cut them into strips to place in airtight containers. They are great natural treats for the kids instead of store-bought candy, and you could also reconstitute this into applesauce if you boil them into water. They will keep for years if kept in an airtight container, so for all you preppers out there, maybe this is an even better way to store your applesauce. Alright, while that's all cooking behind me, I want to show you now how I'm going to make the apple juice. So there's different ways of making apple juice. If you have a press, you can cold press it and then pasteurize the juice. We don't have a press, so we're going to extract it using steam. This is a vapor pan. Unfortunately, it's not that big. If I could find a bigger one, I'd buy a bigger one. But we're going to have to do this in batches. The way that this works is that the pan has three parts. The bottom part, which contains water to create steam, the middle part, which is where the juice collects, and the top part, which is the fruit basket, where you can place the fruit you want to extract juice from. The lid will keep the steam in the pot, and the little pliable tube is to tap off the juice into bottles once done. First you fill up the bottom part, not all the way to the top, but generously, because you don't want to be replenishing that steaming water all the time. I'm going to try one batch at this size of cutting, but if I see that it's taking a long time, I might actually cut it a little bit smaller. Alright, already smells delicious in here. After putting the steamer on the fire, you will need to tend to it for a couple of hours, tapping off the ready steamed juice, filling up the apple basket with new apples, don't discard the pulp, this will be used in our barbecue sauce, and filling up the bottom steamer when running low on water. The yield can be between 30 to 60% depending on the apples. These eating apples were a little on the dry side, so I just yielded about 32%. You can do this with soft fruit as well, like grapes or strawberries, and your yields will be much higher. Once the juice is bottled, you then water can the bottles for about 15 minutes fully submerged and then let cool down on the kitchen counter. This juice is shelf stable due to its low pH. It will keep on the shelf as long as you make sure that the vacuum seals are properly done. Next up, we're going to be making a smoky apple barbecue sauce. Super delicious, super simple as well to make. What we'll be using is this steamed apple leftovers. I have about 3 kilograms here. I'll write what that is in empirical below. Then I also have about 3 kilos of Somerset tomatoes, so those are saucy tomatoes. 1 liter of red wine vinegar, salt, 2 cups of coconut sugar, 250 grams to be exact, an array of spices, 1 tablespoon of crushed mustard seeds, 1 tablespoon of smoked paprika powder, 1 teaspoon of crushed cloves, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, 2 tablespoons of cumin, 1 teaspoon of crushed piment, 1 tablespoon of cinnamon, and 2 teaspoons of white pepper. Enough apple juice or water that you have left from steaming apples to submerge the whole, and 4 large white onions sliced. To begin, start by chopping up your tomatoes and introduce them into a very large pan. Then add your sliced onions, 3 tablespoons of salt, your apple juice or water, all your spices, the steamed apples, and some more of the juice until everything is submerged. Mix that all around. And then add in your red wine vinegar, your sugar, and then turn on the heat and let it simmer on a low heat for 45 minutes. Make sure that all the ingredients are very well cooked. Once that's done, you now batch blend it in a high-speed blender and bring each batch together in one large bowl. It's a lot of barbecue sauce. I already tasted it. It's very nice and tart. I'm gonna add probably another cup of sugar to this. And then I'm gonna boil it down a little bit more to get to the perfect consistency, and then we're gonna bottle. Oh yeah. I have a real soft spot for barbecue sauce. With meat. Delicious. Share this passion with Fia, I think, and with Ami. They also love it. If it was up to Fia, barbecue sauce would be a part of every meal. And so would ketchup, I think. I'm gonna add a bit of sugar. It's perfect. I introduced 2 more cups of sugar and then reintroduced it to the fire for another 15 minutes of boiling while stirring. Then it was time to bottle the barbecue sauce into 10 sterile 750 milliliter bottle jars. Okay, and now to really make them completely safe, what we're going to do is we're going to water bathe them. Somebody's calling. I also sterilized my lids once more just to make sure that they were not contaminated, and after bottling I then water bathed them for about 30 minutes fully submerged in boiling water. Leave them to cool down on the counter overnight, and the next day, voila, shelf-stable apple barbecue sauce to save in your pantry for many barbecue dinners and lunches to come. We already have a video and recipe up on how to make normal barbecue sauce and how to use it. I'll link that here if you want to check it out. That brings us to 4 delicious apple recipes. I promised 5. Those are dehydrated apples. That is so simple that I'm not even going to show you how to do it. It's just simply slicing them, putting them on a dehydrator sheet or in a ventilated room and letting them dry until they are completely crisp. Then you can store them in an airtight container and they're going to be healthy, delicious little snacks for you and your kids. Or you just yourself if you don't have any kids. I just have kids, so I always like to think in terms of low sugar stuff, and this is it. If you enjoyed that content and you want to see more of our cooking content, we have a great video up on how to preserve oranges or fresh basil, or if you want a series on how to preserve vegetables in general, that's right here. The full recipes will be up on the website and in the description box below. See you on the next one. The Farming Chefs, peace out.